what's this gonna be? You know how I played it for. That nigga burning.
Welcome back to your favorite channel, Pelican Bay Dog TV and News, giving it to my brothers and sisters the way I always do, fair and unbiased, raw and uncut. Some people gonna like it, some people ain't. Y'all hit that subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead and hit that like button up, because a lot of my folk get forgetful. Hit that like button up. Big shout out, big salute to all the pet lovers across the world, from the top of the globe to the bottom of the globe. We about to get into that dog talk today. We want to touch on a specific topic real quick, you know. And like I always say, man, I hope everybody had a great day, great evening, great morning, having a great morning, having a great day. It just depends on where you at watching this video right now. But the topics we want to touch about, I just gave y'all brothers the Massachusetts, the first federal dogfighting prosecution in Massachusetts that just happened over the past week, you know. But what I've come to figure out, I did some more research and I found out something, you know, and we got a little something in common here, you know. I want y'all to check two videos out. And then what I want to do is I want to explain to you something, why I'm showing you these two videos and why these two videos and what they have in common. You know, these videos have a lot in common, or should I say, the people in these videos have a lot in common, you know, and two different states have more in common than they actually know. So what I want y'all to do, man, is check these videos out. I'm going to play them back to back, you know, and then I'm going to speak about it.
Is heading to prison after being convicted in federal court on charges connected to operating a dog-fighting ring inside his home. Boston 25 News reporter April Baker joins us live in Dedham. And April, this is an historic case.
Yes, Mark. John Murphy, who is a father of four, is the first person in Massachusetts to receive a federal sentence for dog fighting. But it took years to get to that point. We talked with law enforcement here about why. On April 9th, 2025, 51-year-old John Murphy of Hanson was sentenced in federal court to 1 year and 1 day in prison for dog fighting.
So it is a very involved crime as well as being a very heinous crime.
Court documents show in 2021, federal authorities became aware of Murphy's involvement in dogfighting. Just over a year later, they started closely monitoring Murphy's property using aerial and ground-level surveillance cameras. Then in June 2023, our cameras captured federal agents sweeping his home in Hanson, seizing 9 pit bull-type dogs having scars consistent with organized dog fighting. Animal Rescue League of Boston law officers were also on scene.
It's sometimes difficult to infiltrate these groups and to find out what exactly is going on and who might be involved. So it can involve many months, if not years, of investigation.
Karen Lestraco is the ARL's director of law enforcement. She says organized dogfighting is a lot more involved than just putting dogs in a ring. Photos taken inside Murphy's home shows that. Dogs found tethered to treadmills in his basement. While the sentence is a step in the right direction, Lestraco says
it would have been good to obviously see a higher sentence just as a potential deterrent.
As for dogs involved in fighting, the ARL describes what's next.
They are vetted very, very carefully and you know, deemed fit to be in a shelter environment, to be around people and other animals.
Tafina says it can take weeks, even months, for dogs to feel comfortable and trust people again, but he has seen many success stories. Meanwhile, Murphy has been prohibited from owning pit bulls in the future. We've reached out to his lawyer for comment, but have not heard back. Live in Dedham, I'm April Baker for your local station, Boston 25 News.
April, thank you. We feel for those pups tonight, that's for sure. Hopefully they'll get good homes following this ordeal.
Yeah, some of the most damning evidence today came from an animal control officer who was there when those dogs were confiscated from the home. Her testimony was so disturbing, it had some spectators in court in tears.
I am not going to allow the return of the dogs to your care.
The judge's decision came after hearing disturbing details from an animal control officer about the 48 dogs found on Elmer Givens Jr.'s property last month. Officer Carrie Bayless told the judge on Givens' property she found dogs caged in a garage, lying deep in their own feces.
The amount of feces buildup that was found in those crates took days in some cases to have built up.
Bayless said most of the dogs were emaciated and some had cigarette burns, pellet gun wounds, and scars on their faces and muzzles.
The scarring is certainly consistent with what we see in dogs that have been fought on a regular basis.
She also said officers found equipment often used to train dogs to fight. Givens, representing himself, flatly denied doing that.
Just for the record, I'm not involved with any dog fighting. She said that the dog had scars. It was scared of me, all of this stuff. Like, I don't know where she got that from.
He admitted that he was breeding dogs without a license, trying to build a business. Online, we found his website, Buck City Kennels. On the opening page, a notice. If you are thinking about doing anything illegal with a dog or pup from Buck City Kennels, please leave this site now. Any calls talking about dog fighting or cruelty to animals will be terminated. A message that didn't help his case today. What's your reaction to the ruling?
I'm a little upset, but, that's how it goes, man,
Did you expect this to happen today?
Well, yeah, if I'm standing up against a bunch of lies, I don't stand a chance,
So you say the animal control officer lied?
Absolutely.
Now, Givens is not currently facing any charges. The prosecutor's office says they are still investigating his case. Despite that, he told the court today he's been receiving death threats since the day he was arrested. Live in Tacoma, Kristen Ayers, King 5 News.
Now let's talk about it. We're going to have us a good long conversation about this, and y'all probably still saying what these two situations have to do with each other, And like I said, being that I gave y'all the news over the past couple of years, it don't take much for me to catch on and figure out certain things, not necessarily saying these two situations have something to do with each other, but I want you to learn how to connect the two, and this is the thing, big shout out to all my younger brothers out there, all my younger brothers with these bulldogs. You got to be careful who you taking your info from on certain things, when it comes to these dogs, because you have people out here that thinks exactly the way and do exactly, what these folk did. Now, let me explain, brothers, what I'm speaking about. What these two situations have to do with each other. Now, we got one situation that happened in Massachusetts. First federal dog fighting bust ever. The other situation happened in Tacoma, Washington, where there ain't nothing shaking off at, as far as all kind of stuff that's going down. All right. Now, what they got in common? Both people, the guy from Massachusetts and the guy from Tacoma, Washington, both said they will never stop doing what they doing with the dogs. One said, you'll never stop me from owning dogs, having pit bulls. The other one said, you're gonna never stop him from fighting dogs. First thing they got in common, both of them telling the government what they gonna do. One told the government he'll never stop, and I don't know if this guy knows that the government will stop you if they have to. Y'all brothers do the dumbest shit when it comes to these dogs, and then you get, like I said, you be up on this news and brothers give you the responses, they give you, and you feel wrong about it. If you're gonna bulldog, why would you tell the judge and the government you never gonna stop? Why would you tell them that? That don't make sense to me. It's like bluffing. Y'all boys do a lot of bluffing. You want to seem tough. You want your ego to be stroked. That's all that is. And that trickle down into the courtroom in this particular situation for you to tell the judge you never gonna stop. If you're never gonna stop, don't. Why you gonna tell somebody you're never gonna stop? You know, just don't stop. Why would you go tell somebody, especially the ones that's convicting you, you're never gonna stop? Now, that's the first thing they got in common. Both assholes told the judge that they're gonna continue to do what they're gonna do after the judge told them to do different things. Now, the second thing they got in common. The dude who told the judge, the dude who told the police or whoever he told it to, he's never going to stop fighting, only got a year in jail. I don't care if he pled guilty or not guilty. We talking reality here. He only got a year in jail. He told him he never going to stop. The brother down there in Paulding, Georgia, wasn't around no box. He didn't have no pictures showing him caught up in no box, none of that. But yet, he get 500 years in prison because he have 100 and some dogs, and he get found guilty on each one of them dogs, and they charge him for each count. So he get 500 years, but yet this dude in Massachusetts get a year, and he telling the judge what he gonna do. The dude in Tacoma didn't even get a year. He telling the judge what he gonna do. That's what they got in common. Both folk told the judge what they gonna do when it come to these pit bulls. And both of them got slaps on the ass, slaps on the wrist, you know, when it come to their punishment for what they did. Now you telling me a dude who got caught with stuff in the phone showing you fighting stuff, plus more incriminating evidence showing you he was fighting, and he get a year, and you telling me that fits American justice when a dude in Georgia got 500 years? You know, I mean, like I said, man, all I do is give the news, but yet at the same time, while giving this news, things just don't add up right. And I'm not talking about with the brothers, I'm just talking about the system in general. You know what I'm saying? This dude tell the judge he gonna fight, get a year. This dude down here don't get caught in nothing. He just get caught with 100 some dogs with chains. Some of them got scars on them. So, and they gonna say he fighting them. You know, he had things that make them say he fighting them, but they didn't catch him in no kind of incriminating stuff like they got the guy in Massachusetts. You know, they got match reports and all kind of stuff from Tacoma. They busted the dude in Tacoma 3 times in a matter of a year and some change. You know, 3 times in a matter of a year and some change, get less than a year. Paulding, Georgia, 500 years, scarred up dogs. That's all we're going to call him. We're going to call him scarred up dogs from Paulding. You know, 1 year, and the guys who don't got no time talking tough talk to the judge. Now, the next thing they got in common, both of them coming from a state where, like I told you before, different places, they ain't playing certain things. You know what I'm saying? You know, like I say about my brothers in LA, certain things, that gang stuff may get away with in certain states. It ain't gonna get away with in LA. You know, that dog fighting stuff may get away with in certain states. It ain't gonna get away with in the Carolinas. These brothers get in trouble in the Carolinas, they in trouble. They get in trouble in Georgia, they in trouble. Florida, they in trouble. You know what I'm saying? But Massachusetts, like we heard, this is the first time for them getting a federal conviction. You know? And for the most part, they're acting like that's the first time anybody even got in trouble for dog fighting in that state. You know? And like I said, man, it's just crazy when you look back at it. I don't know what you want to put it on, what you want to say the excuse is, or why it goes down like this. All I know is he pled guilty to dog fighting. He pled not guilty. Big difference. You know, big difference. Now, the brother Thaxton also caught 20 years, an older brother in Georgia, I want to say, also caught 20 years, having to do, I think, at least 5 before he's eligible for parole. I think that's what it said. No phone records of me matching. You don't got me in the box. You don't got me fighting. You just going off of maybe a scratched up dog. And they say Thaxton didn't even have scratched up dogs like that. But I'm just saying, maybe a scratched up dog, maybe a breaking stick, And then you call these brothers dog fighters. Because you have a history on it, you can't say I'm doing it now. You can't use my history just because I got dogs now and try to use my history on me, when I haven't did anything now. And that's all we talking about, man. Fair justice around the board. You know what I'm saying? It don't make no sense. What kind of message are you trying to lead out here? Now, I'm speaking to the people who fighting against dog fighting. I'm speaking to people fighting against dog fighting right now. I'm trying to figure out something. Because this shit don't add up. And I'm trying to figure out. Help me figure this shit out. What kind of message are you trying to lead to these young brothers, right? Oh, we know what kind of message you're trying to lead when it came to the Paul in Georgia, brother. Okay, 500 years for dog fighting. Y'all trying to make a message. You trying to stop this thing, what he called animal cruelty, dog fighting, pit bull fighting. You trying to stop it. But then in Massachusetts, you turn around, man tell you he never gonna stop fighting dogs, and he get a year. What kind of message you trying to send? Like I said, fair justice is all brothers seeking out here in this dog game. If you're going to play it like that all the way around the board. It's crazy though, because sometimes the feds take over, sometimes the state take over. It just depends. Everybody have their own little way they do it, I guess. I'm quite sure if the dude in Paulton, Georgia, if he would have been charged federally, he probably wouldn't even have got that much time. He probably would have got 10 years, 15 years, And like I said, that's a lot of time especially when you haven't been caught fighting dogs. 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, that's a lot of time. But you talking about giving a brother 500 years? And then you turn around in this same year, give another brother a year because of a not guilty and a guilty plea. Is that the message you're trying to send? Plead guilty, you go get 6 months. Plead not guilty, you get 500 years. What's the message? Like I said, every state do how they do, but in South Carolina, North Carolina, on down, you know what I'm saying, it's a different ball game. These brothers known for bulldogging, and the law enforcement tired of it, in the old school way. They don't mind your bulldogging in the right way, the modern day time where brothers gonna learn how to adapt, gonna learn and have to figure out how to adapt to the situation. They worry about the old school way of moving. You know what I'm saying? That David Tant way. And like I said, man, it's just coincidental. You coming from a state, one person coming from a state where you don't really hear too much dog fighting, bust and raids going on, so the government itself is not on it like that. Then the other dude is coming from a state that is the same way, Massachusetts, Tacoma, Washington, You can't stop me. I'm going to do what I do. If I'm going to do what I'm going to do and I'm really serious, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I ain't going to tell nobody. I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. That's why I tell y'all boys, you talk too damn much. You ain't going to do shit. You do too much damn talking. You know what I'm saying? And then the ones who've been the toughest, maybe that's the message they trying to send brothers. Go in there, be tough like the dude from Tacoma and the dude from Massachusetts did. Go in there and tell the judge, I'm going to do it my way. You can't stop me. It is what it is. Some going to like it, some ain't. And see if you get your year. You might get your year. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Because the ones that saying I'm going to do what I'm going to do, they ain't getting nothing but a year. The ones who saying I didn't do it, they're getting the key thrown at them. And you know when I give you the news, they're going to tell you what evidence they got on it. The dude from Portland, Georgia with 500 dogs, they did not find any dog fight evidence in his phone as far as matches, being in matches, any kind of incriminating activity that you be finding in a lot of these brothers' phone. They didn't find that in his phone because they would have said it and I would have told y'all. I did too many articles on it. They didn't find that in his phone. That guy had scratched up dogs, a bunch of chains, heavy chains on dogs, what they considered heavy, and a lot of dogs. Once they got all the dogs off the chains, that's when they gave you the picture that brothers see all the time with all the chains and the collars stacked up on each other, making it look like, oh, all these chains on these dogs at one time. Now, does having the dogs on heavy chain warrant 500 years? Does having scratched up dogs warrant 500 years? Out of 100 and some dogs, they didn't have no dogs that they showed, because if they did, brothers, you know I'm telling the truth, they would have put it up there for us to see it. He didn't have no disfigured dogs. You know, anytime somebody is arrested for dog fighting and there's a disfigured dog on the scene, he will be showed. You will not get a disfigured dog to pass through the rankings, you know, without being showed on that news. So scratched up dogs, 100 and some, and then you take it to trial and found guilty. You know, 500 years. And like I said, you know, for Lord forbid that brother waste 20 years just trying to fight that down and get it dropped down. Oh man, 20 years later, we figured out we gave him too much time. Come on, man. You know. But hey, like I said, man, I just give that news, give that dog talk, give it to my brothers. You got to pay attention when it's time to pay attention. Read when it's time to read. Shut your mouth when it's time to shut your mouth. And just ride on out when it's time to ride on out. You know, it just is what it is. That's how it's always going to be out here, man. That's how it's always going to be, you know. You see, that's why a lot of these guys, they talk that tough talk because they in places where that shit is looked at small. You know, even though it's federal charge all over, you know, if your state just so happened to handle it, you know, it's no big deal. You know what I'm saying? They don't look at it like no big deal. But when you come in the states like where I'm at, it's a big deal. You know, and they handle it in a whole different way. You can see that. You see that, how they handle it. You know? But hey, man, like I said, I just put this stuff out here. Make your own minds up, make your own decisions. I just say be careful who you take your info and your knowledge from, man, because brothers be thinking like this. When you have brothers that think like this, they be like, oh, I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyway. You don't want to be taking info and knowledge from brothers like that. You can't tell me nothing about nothing when you that type of brother. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyway. You can't stop me from doing it. Who say they can't stop you? Like I said before, who say they can't stop you? Who are you trying to prove to when you tell any brother? I don't care what you're doing in life. If it was illegal, when you got in trouble about it, and you think you're gonna continue to do it, be the asshole to get up there and tell the judge you can't stop me from doing what I'm doing. I don't care if you jugging brothers. I don't care what you're doing. If you're gonna continue to do it, I ain't gonna do it no more, you know? And then you continuing to do it. And you get in trouble again, you know, it was what it was. But at the end of the day, there's no wins in you telling the judge that you're gonna continue to do anything, you know? And like I said before, it seems to me the brothers who being the toughest to the government, the brothers who talking that loud talk, you know, is getting slaps on the wrist and trying to lead these brothers. You living in a place where they give slaps on the wrist, but you trying to lead brothers in the wrong direction in places. These brothers live in places that they ain't gonna get slaps on the wrist at. You know, don't be fooled, brothers. You see this man, hope he got a year, and you think, oh, they ain't gonna get nothing but a year. Don't be fooled, man. Different states do different things. You know what I'm saying? You know. But like I said, PB K9s, man, It just is what it is. Giving to my brothers, fair and unbiased, raw and uncut. Y'all hit that like button up before y'all get up out of here. You want to donate to the channel, you know how you hit it up. You know what I'm saying? Get your copy of that book. If you haven't got your copy of that book, if you got any questions, anything you want me to drop on the videos when it comes to the dog talk, hit me up on the low, on a back road or the messenger or whatever. PBK9, stay safe, stay legal, and we out.